It's so great to be here with you. It's Thursday at 12:30. You know what that means? Ounce of Prevention Chat with Dr. Stephanie Fine. That's me. Oh, I hope you had a good week. Today is one of my favorite topics in the planet, which is joy. And of course, I'm thinking about that a little more because of the songs Joy to the World, and there's a connection with holidays and joy, and a lot of times there's an expectation of joy at holiday time, but it may not actually turn out that way. And we've talked a bunch about that, about how to deal with family and friends that are challenging, and whether you should even try, whether that's a good use of your time or not, and you get to decide that. But joy is one of the ideas that connecting can bring. And ideally, it does that. So it's always good to have aspirations, but realistic ones, right? Realistic ones. So the reason, that's the reason I brought up joy. Now, one of the in the Ounce of Prevention, I go into the step-by-step and that sort of thing. And in these chats, I take one idea and go a little deeper. And so that's what we're going to do today. And today I wore a scarf that brings me joy. See, it has a little butterfly on it. Isn't that pretty? It was my mommy's. So I like to wear it. It actually still smells like her a little bit, which is always nice too. But it's so joyful because it's pink and love. And something like an article of clothing can basically remind you of joy. And that's an important piece. It's funny to talk about joy because a lot of people think joy, my goodness, I'm just happy if I'm neutral, not bummed or not overwhelmed or not frustrated. And that's exactly why I bring up joy, because there's a higher standard for humans in general that we can feel joy a lot of the time. And that's what I want for us, because if you're not feeling joy, that means your life is out of balance, frankly. That's exactly what it means. And a lot of times we look for cheap joy in food, in the bottom of a Frito bag or at the bottom of a pint of ice cream. And I know some people will be thinking, but I do have joy there. And you might for a very short amount of time, as long as it takes to finish it. But then very soon after, it's the opposite of joy, actually, right? There's shame and guilt and frustration and anger and some sadness. And I'm certainly not saying not to eat ice cream, but when we're eating an entire quart or pint of ice cream, that's not addressing a hunger issue or even an enjoyment issue. That's covering something up. If we proactively put joy into our day and week, then we're mitigating the bad feelings, right? Not only if we're proactively doing it, like planning for it, then we have anticipation, we have the actual time that we're in the joy, which counteracts any frustration in the week. So that already there's an hour that you're not feeling frustration, because when you're feeling joy, you can't feel other negative emotions. They just don't go together. And what I love about joy too, and you'll let me know what you think about this, like in the comments, let me know. But joy to me is sort of a calmer, organic feeling rather than sort of happiness. It's not exhilaration, it's not excitement, but joy has its own sort of flavor to it. It's a calm, peaceful fullness that feels great. And so that's what I want for you. In the example in the Ounce of Prevention, one of the ways that it's easy to identify joy is when you're doing some really fun activities. So I was talking about sliding down a snow mountain, a snow hill. It's just so fun. You're sliding down, and when that smile just comes on, that's a joy. But we can have that, not necessarily that exhilaration, but the calm joy that I was talking about when you're reminded by, like I said, a color or an article of clothing, or you're doing something you genuinely like to do, enjoy doing. So often that's a creative endeavor, writing, painting, sculpting. It could be watching a musical or participate or out in nature, these sorts of things. Planning for them, for you to feel joy. Literally, it's like practicing feeling joy. That will help you in your coping, in your attempt to cope without food. That's what I mean. 2 ways. One we already talked about is that it physically takes up time, that you aren't feeling frustrated. 2, you're practicing that feeling of joy. And 3 is that you are learning other ways to cope without food. And that would include all the activities and things you're doing to feel joy, like any of the activities or connecting or that sort of thing. So 3 ways that joy helps us with weight. One of the major issues is emotional eating for keeping weight off and losing weight. And the joy is the way around that. It's both a teacher and the answer. That's what it is. So joy is such it's almost a pivotal piece in this. And I know it can be difficult to find joy, to look when you're looking for it, to make time for it. But that's what's required to lose weight and keep it off. And it's so funny because when you think of it, putting joy in, and then you get to have the joy. So it's really a win-win if you make room for it. So that's what I have for you today, is look for places to stick joy in, little places, big places. Vacations aren't going to be 100% joy. There's going to be travel, there might be some problems, there may be things that don't go the way you want, but there will be lots of opportunity for joy. And that can happen on a weekend, that can happen in an evening, that can happen at work if you get really good at it. So that's the point that I want to make, is I want you to practice finding places for joy and feeling that feeling. Practice feeling joy. It will crowd out negative feelings, and we don't need to feed joy. We can just feel the joy. Happy holidays. I hope there are lots of moments of joy for you, and that you think of other ways to put them in for the rest of the weeks and year. And I will see you next Thursday for another Ounce of Prevention chat. Bye.